What's going on, guys? Bowen's back again with another unboxing, and I know it's not Bill Stein, but I think you guys will be really happy about what we got here today. Here at Shock Surplus, if you don't already know, we like to really cut through the marketing mumbo jumbo to give you real world breakdowns of the features and benefits of the vast array of aftermarket suspension options for all the vehicles out there. In fact, a lot of these kits we're installing on our own vehicles so we can give you real honest reviews on how they actually feel. We don't think there really is a best suspension system out there, but there definitely is a best suspension for you and your needs. So if that's what you're looking for, we definitely got you. Now, usually we're in here talking about Fox, King, Icon, and with Bowman, you always have Bill Stein, but we listened, we saw your comments, and we finally got a set of Dobinsons in here to break down for you, and we went big and went with their top of the top line MRR 3-way adjustable kit. For those of you guys who don't know who Dobinsons are, they're an Australian company who definitely aren't new, but in the last couple years have become a lot more popular here in the States. Just like Iron Man, Old Man Emu, their compatriots down under, they don't just do suspension, they do pretty much everything else you and your rig might need to survive a long trek in the outback. This means they're kind of looking at suspension as part of a holistic upgrade. Typically, if you're looking to load your rig down or armor it up, these can allow you to get a much more cohesive package as a whole. And another thing that we really like that these Aussie brands do that a lot of the legacy American brands aren't really doing right now is their top of the line kits are tuned and really optimized for more the average person rather than being designed for all out, no frills performance. It's not to say that things like these MRRs won't keep up with the big boys, and that's not to say the big boys will beat you up, but we do think that brands like Dobinsons are able to find a much happier balance for the average trail driver and daily driver. Talking about top of the line kits, today we have Dobinsons MRR 3-way adjustables. This particular kit is for a 2008 to 2022 Toyota Sequoia, so your second gen Sequoias, and is set up for 1.75 to 3 inches of lift. But a lot of what we're talking about here today, besides specific dimensional data like lift height, will be applicable for all the mini vehicles that have MRR kits available for them. You'd be surprised how many kits Dobinson is making for all these vehicles. So if you have something a little weird, they probably have a kit for you. As with most Dobinsons kits, MRR otherwise, they do give you the option of coil springs, at least for the rear. You can either run an 1.75" lift spring or a 2.25" inch lift spring. However, you only get one spring for the front coilover, and that is a 16-inch, 650-pound spring. It's a 3-inch ID universal coilover style spring. And they're able to give you the range of lift or load carrying capacity with these shocks by obviously allowing for preload adjustment. They have about 2 total inches of preload adjustment available. And to make it easy for you, Dobinsons basically makes you choose how much lift or how much weight you have on the front end of the vehicle when you're ordering the kit so that they can preset it for you and take a lot of the headache out of setting up a threaded body coilover. Unlike the circlip adjustable stuff that has defined grooves that are telling you what lift height you're gonna get, threaded body coilovers, it's kind of a guess. Obviously, you do have a lot more individual adjustment than you would with a circlip adjustable strut or coilover. You just don't really have those defined settings, so they take care of that for you. We had this kit set at 3 inches of lift in the front or 103 millimeters of preload, but so you guys can see the available preload settings, we're gonna throw those up over there. So as you guys are probably guessing, at 3 inches of lift on these Sequoias, you're probably gonna need an upper control arm to get it aligned back within spec. And Dobinsons makes a great billet aluminum adjustable upper control arm that you can pair with these kits as you're putting it together when you order it. But any aftermarket upper control arm designed for about this range of lift height should work great as well. These are an aluminum body, which comes with pros and cons. Obviously pros, you're not gonna have any of the corrosion issues that you would have with a steel body shock, but con is we find aluminum is just too soft of a material on a coilover for you to make adjustments with your coilovers still installed in the vehicle. Where that's gonna matter is if you find that you've added weight or you just want to change ride height from how you had it set out of the box, that means you're going to have to pull these out, put them on a spring compressor to make those adjustments so you don't destroy those threads. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is certainly something to remember when and if you plan to change weight or ride height on your rig. Our more experienced viewers have probably caught on that with a 3-inch universal coilover spring, you usually get around a 2.5-inch body coilover, and you'd be definitely right. Dobinson uses a 2.6-inch diameter body or a 66mm diameter body on both their coilovers and rear shocks for these kits, for the Sequoias. But if you have something that doesn't quite have the clearance for the big boy shocks, they do make a 56mm body or 2.2-inch diameter body for those applications. So even if you can't fit the big boy shocks, you do know you're getting the biggest shock that'll clear without serious modification. With that said, does not matter what diameter body shocks they are, all the MRR coilovers and shocks get a 60mm reservoir, which houses their dual speed compression adjusters, but more on those later. On all of Dobinson's monotube design shocks, they like to keep to a 3mm wall thickness. On the 66mm body stuff, they're running a 60mm piston like a Bilstein, and on their 56, that means they're running a 50mm piston. They really use a higher flow piston design that you normally see from a lot of brands. Is one of the biggest ingredients to their recipe for a little bit better small bump sensitivity than we see from a couple of different brands out there. The other benefit of that high flow piston design means they're making their adjusters do the work. They get a greater effective range of an adjustment, and the adjustment itself is just more effective. Now, dual speed compression adjusters have obviously been a staple at Fox. They pretty much made it their namesake, but a lot of other brands, Dobinsons included, have started including them in their damper designs for good reason. We're not going to bore you with too much of the data and details, but basically low speed compression is how your shock is damped when you're going against body roll, brake dive, squat under throttle, maybe articulation off-road, and sometimes those long, slow rolling bumps or dips. High-speed compression, this knob down here, is gonna be most of your bump stiffness. Now, there are some situations where vehicle speed can turn a low-speed event into a high-speed event, but for the most part, we're talking about the speed of dampening, whether it be compression or rebound. We're talking about shaft speed or the velocity the suspension is moving. To make it real easy for you guys, basically your control knob is your low speed compression, which they give you 20 clicks for on these, and your comfort knob is your high speed compression, which you have 10 clicks for. One thing that I think Dobinson does that a lot of other brands should take note of is they give you a little tool for this adjuster. The high-speed adjuster knobs run off of a shim stack, which can be kind of hard, or which can make the knob a little bit hard to turn sometimes, particularly at the higher settings. Depending on application, they could be somewhere that's just hard to get to. I'm currently running Fox 2.5 Performance Elites on my Bronco, and the front dual-speed compression adjusters are pretty much in the engine bay. So after a long day out ripping in the desert, when you want to make a couple clicks to get you back on the road and comfortable, you are burning your fingertips trying to make those adjustments. Match that with the edges are usually a little sharper than they have their edges on these knobs, meaning you're really beating your fingers up just so you don't beat your back up. This adjuster is designed really well and can be used on some of the other knobs, which we'll talk about later. These definitely aren't alone in the realm of shocks with dual speed compression adjusters, but there really isn't anything much in the off-road space that comes with a rebound adjuster, specifically in smooth body shocks like we said. Just like compression is how your suspension is damped when the suspension compresses, rebound is just the other direction. So it is arguably just as important as compression, and we really think there's a lot of dampers out there that don't have a rebound adjuster that could really do well with one. So this is certainly a welcome luxury on these MRRs. Just like compression, rebound is one of the biggest factors for both comfort and control. On the comfort side, you can really think of rebound as how your shock is controlling your springs. So whether you're running a lot of preload or you're running a little bit more spring rate, you can really use the rebound to keep that under control and reduce harsh top outs. This particular setup is set up at some of the higher preload settings that are recommended for these kits. So we'll probably end up running a little bit, or running rebound a little tighter than somebody might at 2 inches of lift or less. In the control department, rebound is a big factor for dynamic weight shift across the chassis, or basically grip. When you hit the gas, how much that front end rises or how much the rear end rises when you hit the brakes is determined by your rebound dampening, and can be a really critical tool, or a really useful tool for setting up your handling balance. Using myself as an example, if I have a low speed compression adjuster on a shock, when I'm going to hoon off road, I have that thing pretty much maxed out. I want my rig to slide before it sways violently, so I end up pretty much maxed out on the adjustment. Because there's not much adjustment left, if any at all, I don't have any room to set the handling balance front to rear, i.e. grip front to rear. So I could use that rebound adjuster to set my front to rear grip balance, i.e. its tendency towards understeer or oversteer on the limit. I like it to be a little bit loose on turn in, and then when you whack the throttle, I want it to dig and pull straight out, and I think most people do as well. Not much stuff comes with rebound, so the fact that you're getting it on these shocks at a price similar to what you would pay for other adjustable 2.5-inch body shocks is a big win in our books. So these particular shocks get 15 clicks of rebound adjustment, and that adjuster assembly actually runs along the inside of the shaft of the shock. On these, since they're coilovers and eyelet to eyelet shocks, they run them at the top of these eyelets, and they give you can use your adjuster tool from the DSCs on these as well to set them where you want them. Obviously, it would be better to have a knob if available, but tool required rebound adjustment is better than no rebound adjustment at all. And the clicks are relatively positive, so even through the tool, you can have a good idea of where you are in your adjustment. And in the case of these, it is basic. You could basically use a flathead screwdriver as well if you lost this tool. In the case of other damper body designs, if you have a stud mounted shock with the shaft on the stud side, or a coilover that mounts to an OE style coilover, or an OE style top mount like Tacomas or Forerunners, your adjuster is actually going to be on top of the stud, and where applicable, i.e. where it fits, they give you a little adjuster tool that works just like a knob for the top of the damper as well. So may not look like this, but all of the MRR designs will get some sort of rebound adjuster. Some just might be easier to get to than others. As a whole, we really think Dobinsons does a killer job of allowing you to custom tailor a truly high-end lift system to your specific needs that is not only built to a really high standard, but is really well thought out. They give you all the hardware, tools, bits, bobs. They preset it for you, give you recommended preload and damper adjustment settings so that it's foolproof even if you aren't a car wizard. And another big thing for us is that they're willing to service applications besides just your regular Tacoma or Wrangler with really high-end suspension systems. So if you have something that's skewed a little bit towards the obscure side of the scale, there's a good chance they have a package that'll work for you and work great. Speaking of which, we really love how they optimize these for just kind of the regular person. Most other manufacturers are taking their high-end kits and really tuning them and optimizing them for somebody who's going to be smashing on the rig at Mach 5 every time their tires touch dirt. And although these still will boogie, they can really be tuned and set up for somebody who just wants to have a nice day cruising out on the trails or a comfortable commute to work. And obviously, the addition of three-way adjustability gives these just that little bit of a leg up on a lot of what's already out there. We're definitely stoked to get one of these MRR kits on one of our own rigs so we can give them a good feel out and give you guys a great review on how they really feel. If there's something else you guys have been dying to see, jump down in the comments, let us know, and make sure you subscribe and hit that bell icon. If you are interested in these for your Sequoia or anything else, or you're looking for any upgraded suspension for whatever rig you're running, Shock Surplus is your place. And me, I'm Bimbo, and I'm out.